Hey, Hannah, welcome to the Live Thrivingly podcast. We're so happy to have you today.
I'm excited to be here.
So, to start off, Hannah, if you had to choose a spirit animal that resonates with your essence, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Okay. It's a raccoon. It is not the iconic spirit animal, like something majestic, but it is very majestic in its coonness. Yeah, it's definitely 1000% a raccoon.
I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
What
so
about
as we
you?
um I think I've had some different answers over time. I've always said like a bobcat or a lynx.
Ooh, I
Um
see. Hmm.
yeah, I like to be calculated and strategic and I'm learning to be slower in my stalking of my dreams and things. So
Ooh,
I
yeah.
feel like I'm very cat like I'm trying to be light on my feet, with
Mhm.
yoga and balance and everything. So that's where I'm at right now.
Love it.
Okay, yeah. So let's dive into your personal story. Could you walk us through some of the pivotal moments and experiences that shaped you on the path you're on today?
Okay. I When we first sent out this podcast, something that really just came through was when I was a little girl. I had a teacher who, for our test scores, she placed us in the classroom where we were like tested into, and I was tested in the bad area. I didn't test well, so I was placed towards the wall. And I think like that moment just shifted me. Like I felt unseen. I felt that I wasn't capable of being great, like the students who were facing the front of the room. So ever since that moment, like we were having that conversation and that really just sparked, like that was the starting point of Hannah. Like that was the starting point of the personality, of the drive and the determinedness, because that moment I was incapable, I was unseen, I was unheard, and it was just like, okay, you're just gonna go off to the side. And I was like, screw this, man. Like, no, you don't get to decide who I am in middle school. Uh, so from that moment, I really became determined. And along the journey of chiropractic school, of really discovering who I am and going back and healing all of those things that led me to that moment, I really discovered that I really just want people to feel seen, to feel heard, to believe that they can do whatever they put their mind to or whatever they see for themselves, that nothing is standing in their way. And in that moment, it was test scores, or it was who you are as a person, or qualifications, or whatever it may be. I wanted to just empower the person and the self and the actual personality to come through for people. And I believe that started the journey. It started out a little bit of stubbornness and just like, you can't tell me what to do. I'm an Enneagram 8, so the challenger definitely came in. But I think that was the moment that really just shifted me into creating a space for people to see their full potential.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. I know it's always an interesting question to kind of hear what people have to say about their journeys, and it so often really goes back to our childhoods and
Mhm.
all those patterns and belief systems we begin to take on from the world around us. And it's really incredible to hear how you've liberated yourself and you've really located some of these deep childhood wounds and that it's brought you to where you are now, and then your ability to facilitate that process for others as well.
Mhm.
So, how do you uniquely approach chiropractic care? You mentioned this is one of your modalities, and why do you see it as such a potent tool for overall well-being?
Ooh, it is such, I love the word potent tool. It is a definite potent tool. Um something that really brings to the light of chiropractic is that there are there are walls and barriers, but there's an infinite possibility of what chiropractic care can do. A lot of the world views it as just cracking a back or getting away from pain, which, yes, it can do that. And there is that infinite possibility of empowering you, feeling and adapting to who you want to be. And it's really directing that, clearing the interference in your body and in your nervous system allows you to open up and become a different person, to become the person you dreamed of, to become the light that you want to be, or the strength to do and perform the way you want to perform, by helping you adapt and evolve and heal those childlike things. And that's what really drew me to chiropractic, was that it opened my mind to being able to do whatever I want and to be free from those traumas. Because if you look at the patterning of life, a lot of people are living in those patterns of childhood, or living in those patterns of hurt, pain, when someone wronged them, or a lot of emotional trauma. And with chiropractic, we're able to help unwind and help facilitate the emotion, and where that trauma was really deeply rooted in the body. The body stores, little hack for everyone listening there, your body stores trauma and it stores information. And through chiropractic, we're able to help unlock and help facilitate the unwinding of those patterns that sometimes you can't get to alone.
Wow. It's crazy to me because literally at the beginning of this year is the first time I really realized that the body keeps the score, and that the trauma is like within us cellularly, and that our issues are in our tissues, and through movement and yoga and body work, that we can actively facilitate kind of emptying our cup, that ultimately opens us up to be just greater expressions of ourselves. But we're so often not taught of these ways of moving these emotions out of our body.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned you're also a Kambo practitioner, also known as Sapo, and I've been fascinated by this traditional healing method. Could you enlighten us more about Kambo, this frog medicine from the Amazon?
Absolutely. So Kambo, it is a working with the body. So it works with the waters of the body. Through the intake of water and the application of water, Kambo is able to get through our entire lymphatic system. And what I like to see it and describe it to clients of mine it's like a little ball of energy is coming inside of you. And with that medicine is just going throughout because for the people who know, that the lymphatic system covers our entire body. So with that, it goes in, finds those little balls of energy that are not serving us or that need to teach us a lesson, and they pull it out and collect in this one little area, the bile duct, and then we purge it out. Usually it's a purge from the mouth, but it also can be a purge from the bottom. It also can look like crying and just physically purging out the emotion. Through this, it discovers you get 1 billion peptides within your body, which help you integrate, which help you, it cleanses a lot of chemical issues as well. Yeah, it's a wonderful tool, a wonderful medicine, and it's a very good teacher.
Yeah, so it's almost like it's a physical detox, but also an emotional and mental detox as well.
1000%.
Yeah,
I
it is.
originally found it sorry.
No, go
I
ahead.
originally found it through the physical, and then started to open, and usually the people who come to me are originally for the physical,
Hmm.
and then they start to see the emotional layers just being purged out, literally. But just the unraveling of those emotional patterns that are deeply rooted, which are from the physical representation of them.
Yeah, it is really so cool. I just recently got done reading a book that I had seen that you recommended to me, kind of Sapo in My Soul, and it
Oh,
was
good.
just so amazing to really hear about this guy who was down in the Amazon when he first like came across this medicine and was able to, you know, account for all of its different applications and how they were using it down in the jungle, which is a little bit different at first, as you know, we're not necessarily going hunting all the time, which it seems like it's a big medicine for to enhance our senses and stuff, but we get that in our everyday, you know, technically we're hunting in our own ways, and we need those sensual amplifications to be the fullest expression. And you know, through my own um application of this couple months ago, like I noticed, yeah, just how much it brought me to like emotional catharsis, and just really made me encounter some deep rooted things around like holding on and resisting pain. And it seemed to, after, like almost amplify my fight or flight response. Like I'm able to be more resilient within a fight or flight response and be more adaptable to my environment. Have you seen this as proven itself time and time again?
Absolutely. Absolutely. 1000%. Every person that comes to me just is, appalled by the clear they feel after. And just the senses that they feel. I mean, they're like, I haven't been able to breathe like this. I haven't been able to feel actually like my hands, like feel the energy that's like on my skin. They always explain when they go, I always recommend going into nature too after,
Hmm.
because you really do have an appreciation and the senses are heightened and you're feeling more and being attuned to the frequency of nature and of the intelligence that we were so connected to a long time ago, and our ancestors and how they could communicate with nature. So I'm always recommending people to go out into nature and just feel, just be there, leave your phone in the car and just feel the experience of life. And I think it's so important. And Kambo really has a beautiful way of just like clearing the bucket.
Yeah. And also, I see it as kind of, you know, we breathe through our lungs and stuff, but I think so often we don't remember that we're breathing through our skins and our microbiome, and
Mhm.
everything, including trees and plants, everything is breathing as one. And I feel like Combo really shows you that, almost like the porousness of a frog or a toad, like it opens up our pores and clears us. And then so we can step back out in our environments and fully breathe and exchange with the natural world.
1000% feel that every time.
So, how do you integrate it for your own personal healing, as well as facilitating it for others?
So I facilitate myself, which is really beautiful that I have the opportunity. I facilitate combo myself at least once a quarter, because as a healing facilitator, it's really important for me to stay clear as well. And I think that is missing in a lot of professions. Not to call out professions, but there's a lot of doctors that I've been to that are super overweight and super unhealthy, and they're taking all these medications. And I went to school with a lot of them, and I know that they're on a billion medications for anxiety and depression. And I'm like, you're trying to preach, but you're not practicing. So I want to hold that principle and keep myself integrity. Integrity is huge for me. So being able to clear myself so that I'm able to serve at the highest capacity is very important. So I clear myself with combo at least once a quarter, usually more, sometimes more. When I feel that bucket starting to fill, just of toxins, traumas, just emotional things that have happened in my life, I usually serve myself. Or if someone's in town, I love getting served by other practitioners that we have in Cosmovisions. If we're ever in the same area, we serve ourselves and serve others. And then for facilitating others, what was the question about facilitating others?
Yeah, just yeah, how you facilitate others, like what this offering is.
Mhm. So, offering combo for others is I facilitate usually personal. I've had a few group sessions, but there are circumstances I love doing it by themselves. Because we have so many emotional cords that are attached to other people, and when in ceremony, those are very they're heightened in a ceremony setting. So I love doing people on their own and getting to the root cause of that person, because when you add another person, it usually it heightens things, and there are emotional cords that are tethered that can cause the ceremony to not be the full potential, to not be comfortable in the vulnerability that the medicine brings up. So I usually do personal settings, one-on-one with clients, and that gives me the interview process where I can talk to them, I can ask them questions. We get that emotional body open before even doing the medicine. And I think that is something that I value from the teachers at Cosmovisions, the people who I trained with, is that having that conversation before. I've been in ceremonies where they just sit me down and bloop, and apply the combo, and I'm like, holding on for dear life because I don't know what's happening. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know how to integrate after. So I value the interview process, and before and then after, very important, as well as the ceremony itself. I facilitate in ceremony, where I know a lot of practitioners have done it other ways. Mine is completely sacred. And I hold it very sacred to the medicine that it is, but also to the person, to be able to have the space to be vulnerable, to be the full expression and let it out any way they feel that they need to. And through that, I facilitate a ceremony. And then after is a big integration. So talking, having a conversation of what they felt, what came up, instead of reburying it as the experience that we go through, reburying everything that came up. We go through this pain, and I see it all the time. We go through the pain of this experience or this ceremony, and it's painful. We feel everything, and then we go back into the hole. Like, it's uncomfortable to be seen. It's uncomfortable to be out here living in full expression. So it's like, I'm going to go back in the hole where it's comfortable, where I know I've been there for 15 years. It's so nice. So it's really helping them step out of that hole and be able to take a few steps and really integrate what they've been through so that they can apply it to their life.
Awesome. Yeah, I know we've spoke before about just how crucial the integration aspect is, and that, you know, this medicine as well as other plant medicines and things, you know, is only as good as your ability to apply it and really do the work post ceremony. But it is awesome that you're able to provide this ceremonial setting, because I feel like ceremony, or just, you know, really, we don't even have to use the term ceremony, but just sacred, you know, space in life, like, I feel like is so limited in our modern age. It's like something indigenous people created a lot of space for, and certain other cultures across the world create a lot of space for. But this place, this sacred space where we can step into by ourselves or with another individual or a few others, that we can fully open and share and work through things and realize we're not alone and we can process this. And I think it's just kind of that overall tribe mentality, but it really strengthens us and helps us become the best version of ourselves when we're able to step into that container.
100%. Yeah.
Trying to think which way we can go from here. I like what you said about doctors not practicing what they preach, because I just saw a post on Instagram like a couple days ago, and it said, look at our World Health Advisory like chair members or something, and they were like the most obese, like unhealthy looking people. And it's really funny that these are the people calling the shots on like a global scale of like what we should, you know, be doing to be healthy and to live healthy lives. And especially in the West, we just see how that has been completely degraded. What's kind of your perspective on this, and like, where do you like hope that we can shift towards?
Oh, my perspective on this, I have so many words. I mean, you said it the same, like the people who are representing health are just representing patterns of like dissociation, covering up the problem, and just like trying. I always think something like really visual that comes to mind is those little things that you have on candles that you like put over to hide the flame. Like, that is what comes through for me, is that we have people are going to their PCPs and It's so funny because someone asked me the other day, they were like, "Who's your PCP?" And I was like, "I am." I was like, and they gave me this crazy look. And I was like, I'm a chiropractor. I'm like, if I have something, I'm gonna figure out what's going on and find the root cause, and then we address it. And most of the time, I really never really needed a PCP, which is probably not great to say, but um, because I have the understanding of health. I have the understanding of, okay, how can I listen and feel into what is going on in my body? Where do I feel it? What's going on? Do I feel it traveling somewhere else? Is there something? And just asking those questions can get us to any root cause that we're feeling in our body. And I think that we don't ask, a lot of the medical profession is asking what and how, but they're not asking why. And I think that is so potent in asking just why. Like, why do you feel this? Where do you think it's coming from? Like, asking a few more questions. But when you go into a doctor's office, you're very much in like, okay, you got to do this, this, and no one is actually like just gonna sit there and look you in the eyes and be like, how are you doing? And being able to like understanding tone, and that is like, you look at all, and that's a little bit of the energy side of me coming in. But when you're listening to these people talk and you're listening to these medical professions speak, it's all from fear. It's all from this like heady mindset and this like heady frequency of fear, and trying to just push people into something without understanding why, without sitting down and being able to connect with the person and connect to what's going on really, and how their family is, and how this evolves in when they were children. How did they grow up? And that's just something that I'm really passionate about, especially as a chiropractor, because I feel that chiropractors can be the first line of defense, that chiropractors can be the primary care doctor. And I would love to see a world like shift into that. And I think it already is starting to shift with all of the things that happen in this world, and how a lot of distrust in the medical profession. So I would love to see holistic providers really stepping up and stepping into the power that we hold and the power that we facilitate, and that it really is healing.
Wow. Well said. I think
Very passionate.
I think it's funny too, because I don't necessarily have a PCP either. Like, and when I did, I haven't been in like 5 years now. And like really in the past 3 years of my like spiritual journey, I've just really realized like I'm my own healer. And like maybe there might be a traumatic, like a certain scenario where I might have to go to one, or like go into surgery, or go into like, the Western medical field at some point in time just for something. But overall, like I'm doing everything to try to prevent that and mitigate that, from happening, and living it's so empowering living from a place where we know that we can discover the root why, and unravel that, and then to just live this healthier, happier, more vital lifestyle. It's a huge thing about like what I'm hoping to share through the Live Thrivingly podcast.
Mhm. I mean, that's great because there's so many people, and you think about our old ancestors, like our ancestors. What did they do? There were not PCPs.
Yeah.
Like there weren't PCPs. You either, if you were bleeding out, yes, you found a doctor that could help you. And if you go back far enough, or you spend time in these indigenous communities, there was someone to help you. And there was
Yeah.
someone who, if not your grandmother or someone in your immediate family that had the ancestral knowledge and the wisdom that was passed on through generations, there was a curandero in the town that you could go to. If like something really serious, like, okay, we'll go and ask questions. Like there was never, it was just ancestral knowledge that had been passed down through generations, which is a whole nother rabbit hole
Yeah.
that we can go down. But like, it's really all about listening and learning how to listen.
Truly, truly is. And what's a big part of my journey has been like psychological fragmentation and crisis kind of led me to my journey. And then just understanding that, in indigenous tribes, and really when these were much more intact, these cultures across the world, like you went to the curandera or the shaman, and they knew exactly what was happening to you. And it wasn't like this, let's put you on this pill and you're labeled as broken in society. Rather, they like accept you and they're like, you're kind of, this is your path to discovering your inner light. We just have to help you remember. And, like you said, bringing us back to listen to what is being told to us. And, so often, maybe we apply like a plant or an herb in like TCM, or maybe that a curandera was, saying we need to use tobacco or this to cleanse that. But then there's also just like the whole idea that we can sing and we can dance and we can move our bodies and we can be in fresh air and ground and earth into nature to heal so many mental and physical, emotional ailments that we experience. And that is like the big disconnect of the modern society, of like realizing that sometimes the answers to our problems can be so simple. It's not always about going, and like drinking 5 cups of ayahuasca in the jungle, I think sometimes either. It's like we could do something as simple as begin to play an instrument or go to a yoga class or get chiropractic work done.
I love that you mentioned that. Yeah, like that is so true. Because it's like it's just nature. It's nature, it's natural, it's what we do. And I think in sort of on the energy side, that energy or emotion is just energy and motion. And what time happens is that we lose that energy, we lose that focus, and we just start become stagnant, and that energy is not flowing. So all we have to do is get the energy flowing. And that can be through just doing something that you're passionate about, just moving your body, actually breathing, just like you said.
Yeah, I saw this really cool post on Instagram because I'm really fascinated with like indigenous cultures and
Mhm.
shamanic societies. And it says in many shamanic societies, if you came to a shaman or medicine person complaining of being disheartened, dispirited, or depressed, they would ask one of 4 questions. When did you stop dancing? When did you stop singing? When did you stop being enchanted by stories? When did you stop finding comfort in the sweet territory of silence? Where we have stopped dancing, singing, being enchanted by stories, or finding comfort in silence is where we have experienced the loss of the soul. Dancing, singing, storytelling, and silence are the 4 universal healing salves. And this is by Gabrielle Roth.
That's potent. That is so good and so true. Ooh, yeah. Silence is another one.
Yeah.
That is another one. You get people like in a quiet space, and that's what I've noticed through facilitating Kambo
Mm-hmm.
is that you get in a like where they're alone, they're quiet, their body is actually able to just like boom and just like really ground into the ground. They freak out. Like,
Because like
and that's
how
a lot of they just know people aren't comfortable. And if I mean you put society, it makes sense, but people aren't comfortable in being in the quiet.
we're like on 100% of the time, we're overstimulated
Mm-hmm.
and we're always just, yeah, we're putting so much input in. We're listening to music where there's people talking around us at work or in the grocery store. And that's why like something in the yoga classes I teach in yoga on Tuesday nights is, I talk through the class, but I really allow a lot of silence throughout the class. Just because I believe when we can let people sit in silence, the work takes place internally. Like if I talk the whole class, like you're not necessarily really receiving the medicine from within. I can help kind of guide you to where you should sit to find that medicine, but it's ultimately in silence. And there's so much healing and so much inner peace, I think, to be found from learning to love silence.
Absolutely. That shifted my like whole perspective when I brought in the silence and the darkness.
Very, very cool. Yeah. So, is there a particular quote, mantra, or verse that resonates deeply with you and guides your daily life?
Immediately, immediately the thing that came to my head was send it and lean the fuck in.
I love
Which is
that.
not very like so expression.
Hmm.
A lot of times when we're in this work and we're in this
Yeah.
community, a lot of things become very spiritual and very like flowy. And that's when I love to just like send my raccoon energy of just like, we're just gonna send it today.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're doing. Or just like leaning into the discomfort. That's a huge principle. I mean, it's a quote. Someone's
Yeah.
quoted it. Of
It's
just
you.
leaning in, like just fully leaning into whatever, like if I feel fear, leaning in, taking a step. If I feel like discomfort, I'm leaning in, taking a step because I know it's good for my growth. I know it's going to grow. I'm going to grow in some way. So I don't
Yeah.
know if those are really inspirational quotes,
No,
but
I think those are awesome. They're super simple, but they're really profound. They're
Mhm.
huge. Like I was walking today through my neighborhood and I saw how like this tree was like crooked, like leaning out towards the sun. It's like we don't necessarily all
Mhm.
grow perfectly straight either, but it's like our ability to adapt and to lean into things that really, give us so much more strength and ultimately allow us to live. Like so often we don't lean into things, and it's like everything we're not leaning into is going to lead to our own confusion and disconnection.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I think of like other inspirational quotes, but I really have. I'm not a reader, which
Hmm.
is terrible. Usually, people in the spiritual community are very much readers, but I am not a reader.
Well, let's explore that some more because I
I'm
think
a listener.
it's something that I'm kind of weaving into the book that I'm writing, is saying like, there's so many different alternative routes to go, right? And like when I started my spiritual journey, I immediately started getting into reading, and it became something I really enjoyed to do, and I had never liked reading before. And I know people that they don't want to read text at all, but they'd rather listen to podcasts or audiobooks. And I'm guessing that's kind of what you're saying, is you would rather absorb through listen.
Yeah. Yes, and I listen more. I went down this journey of like learning and knowing. So I mean there was a time in my life where I was very much like reading everything I could possibly get my hands on, and I was like I just need to absorb this knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it felt like I was very much like refurbing what I had read and not what I was actually learning. So then I stepped into this process of I'm just going to experience and I'm just going to learn by experience. And I think that's just a personality trait. A little bit of that raccoon energy coming in of
Mm-hmm.
just like, I'm going to see what's happening and then just jump into it and figure it out from there. So I
Yeah,
think
I
that's
think we definitely learned so much just kind of jumping into the water, right? And instead of
mm,
exploring the term water. And uh yeah, I can resonate so much with that because I was reading so much beginning in the journey and just accumulating a ton of information in general. And then more now, I just have more inner peace because I know that the more layers we uncover, like the more there is to be curious and inquisitive about, and more like little routes to follow down, rabbit holes to
mhm,
explore. But it's like we can't explore all of them. But I think finding where we're really excited, like what we're excited to study. I had a guy, Otto Meyer, on the podcast, a dear friend of mine and coach. He was talking about, following what's most exciting, and instead of like accumulating everything and reading everything, like really follow those in your instinct, what your intuition is saying. Like you're really excited and focused when you study this, because there's, you're
mhm.
never going to keep up with the titles coming out on Amazon and the never ending books and the knowledge we're beginning to
Yep.
really remember on the planet. So it's like, what are you focused on remembering? And then, like you have a lot of different knowledge and wisdom that you've accumulated to share with me. And I have some for you. And we all bring what we
Mhm.
have to the table. And really, the most inner peace for me came when I realized like, I'm not in a rush to accumulate knowledge. Rather, like I know what I need to know for where I am in my life now, and like the knowledge will continue to permeate into my life like as I need it,
That's good. That's really good.
because I felt behind for so long. You see
Mhm.
entrepreneurs on LinkedIn or something like, I read 10 books this week. I read 400 books this year. Like when it's just such our society to be in a
Mhm.
competition for self-development, and it really
Mhm.
degrades a lot of our like inner peace of the process to feel like we're behind all the time, instead to just realize we're enough as we
Mhm.
are where we are now, like we're whole. Everything else is just a bonus, and if we could all remember that, it would be amazing.
Yeah. I think the timeline is a huge thing. Someone once told me, because I'm learning this lesson now, of you're on your own timeline. And
Hmm.
sometimes like you're on your own path, you're on your own space where like you're supposed to complete this in this amount of years or this amount of time. And you see that a lot with school, just being in school for the past 8 years. It's like they teach you like, oh, you're supposed to complete this, then do this, then do this. It's like, actually, no, I'm on my own timeline. I can do whatever I feel and whatever I need. And if it's just all based on needs
It's so
and listen.
freeing, I think, too, when you can step into that, because then it becomes really
Mhm.
fun and exciting again. And it's like kind of how we were like when we were kids before all the structure really took us over. And it's like, you got to be here by here, and this is the way it's got to look. And
Mhm.
there's a timeline. No, there's no timeline. And, to come to that realization that we have all the time we need to, discover our purpose and to live it out and to bring our gifts to the world. It's
Yes.
never too late. Like, we just arrive to it when we arrive.
Hmm. There is this beautiful principle that I love telling people, because a lot of people don't know about chiropractic history, but in chiropractic school, you used to not have to go for 4 years. It was you went until you got the big idea.
Mm,
You went until you realized, like, oh, like this is the big idea. This is how I can help people until you figured out your medicine, which is, and then you got to go be a chiropractor. I was like, can we go back to that? Like,
yeah.
that's so potent in that you just did it until you studied, until you understood, like, really, truly understood the path,
Yeah,
which is huge.
I feel like that is so much in line with the whole like parable and idea that, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, and then when the
Mhm.
student is really ready, the teacher will disappear. And like for one person that might look like 4 years of schooling, for another two,
Mhm.
for another eight, but our model is definitely not set up that way.
Mhm. It's not.
And then you look at someone like, some prodigy, a kid that's like 5 playing a guitar and he's like an expert. And then, people have been playing their whole lives, not even as good. It's like we have these natural inclinations and gifts, our individual, genius that
Mhm.
sometimes it takes us a lifetime to discover. And other times, we tap into it immediately. And then that's when we really see these inspirational prodigies out there in the world. And it's like, we all have that something, that genius, and it's about like remembering that and finding that. And typically too, we can look back to our childhoods, I feel like, and find that.
Mhm. I was just about to say, okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What do you think causes that delay in time? We say it's a perfect journey, yet what do you think causes the delay, but the time, or some people get it in 1 second and then
Yeah.
others take a little bit of time?
I think that there's a couple factors, and I think that environmental factors, the family we're born into, the place in the world
Mhm.
we're born into is a huge influence on that. Our access to external resources and tools and things that could help us, really bring our gifts out into the world and exercise them. I think the support networks around you, your family, your friends, your teachers, are they like caking you in mud, or are they validating the golden light and the gifts that you carry? I think some individuals are easier, are better at, you know sifting out what others think of them and just following their path, and then others start to let that accumulate, and
Mhm.
second guess and doubt comes in. And then the way I see it, and like this is the way it's been explained, like Buddhist texts, is that like we're this golden Buddha statue, like we're ultimately divine and whole. And then throughout life, we accumulate mud. It cakes onto us and it hides our inner genius. And then like one day the mud chips off and we see the golden light, and then like we spend the rest of our lives chipping off this mud. But yeah, for some, they don't accumulate mud as much as others because of certain factors, and maybe that's just their soul's journey in this life. And they've come into a place where everyone around them really supports them. And that's what I like about, I've heard in Egyptian history that, if a child was inclined to like look at insects and bugs and animals, like he would become a scientist, biologist, something.
Mhm.
If there was a kid that was playing with blocks and building things, engineer, architect, like they would cultivate and recognize each individual's genius and then send them on that path. They wouldn't spend their whole life studying mathematics, English, art, everything. They would really find what that genius is and send that
Mhm.
child upon their way to follow that for their life's path.
Wow. Yeah, I could have done without calculus.
Yes, but then some people are just mathematicians, and we need
Yeah.
everybody's, right? We need everybody's genius.
Mhm.
I can't get it exactly right, but in Jim Quick's book Limitless, he talks about the different geniuses, like dynamo genius, and then there's a couple other ones I can't remember them. But
Mhm.
when I read that book, I realized he tells you like, hey, you have a genius, you just might not know what it is yet, and we need to like, you can look back to your childhood. Like for me, I'm like a natural genius or something. It's like I'm inclined for nature and seeing patterns and things
Mhm.
and stuff. Whereas there might be a musical genius, a mathematical genius, but there is the whole idea that we must study the art of science and the science of art. And I think the Romans really had this figured out about cultivating children in the art and sciences first, because from
Mhm.
that is like basically building a fertile garden for
Yeah.
their plant to sprout and their fruits to come one day. It's like once, and I think the way I see it now with the vibrations of music and different things and our ability to see patterns in art, like it just primes our neurology and our psychology for success. It attunes
Mhm.
us to something much bigger, and it allows that divine inspiration and the muse to come in and to guide our life.
Yeah. It also helps to integrate it as well, because that's what I've seen a lot of people who are living in that like logical side and that are
Hmm.
in, they're getting all of these things and all of this information, yet they don't know how to apply it and they don't know how to integrate it into their life. And I'm like, if you would have had that foundational practice of art or an instrument or some type of like way to filter and to discern between the information, like what could you do with that?
Because I see it, and I'm gonna write about this in my book as well. That's coming soon, and it's like the left and right brain hemispheres, right?
Mhm.
And coming together with that left brain logic and that right brain creativity, and that some children are just raised and some humans just live in a more multi-hemispherical place, more, they're
Mhm.
just more flexible and they can move between these hemispheres more, so they can really take that art and apply structure to it, or take that structure and loosen up into the artistry of it all. And I've seen through my own process how, through yoga and meditation in particular, as well as some substances like lion's mane, like adaptogenic mushrooms and things that help me
Mhm.
rewire neural patterns, but that meditation and yoga strengthen the corpus callosum between our left and right hemispheres. It's like these little white
Mhm.
strings that go back and forth. And over time, even if we're like, we try meditation or yoga, we're like, I hate it, like I'm not good at it. But over time, like you build more and more of those little wires. It's like these hairs
Mhm.
that start to come across. And, I haven't gotten a brain scan of my brain yet, but I've seen people's that do this over and over again, and they bring more ability to be cognitively flexible. And I've noticed,
Mhm.
like I even see in my little cousin, that she's very logical, but she's also super creative, and she's grown up bilingual, and she loves music and loves instruments and plays a lot and exercises her creativity a lot. And I can't help but think, because of that, what she's doing and kind of that environment, that she's very flexible between both hemispheres. And that's going to serve as an incredible foundation for the rest of her life. Whereas some of us are only taught to live in one hemisphere.
Yeah, that's great of her parents.
Yeah. So the title of the podcast, the Live Thrivingly podcast, resonates with many of our listeners in different ways. Given your unique journey of self-discovery, healing, and growth, what does the phrase live thrivingly mean to you personally?
I like this. Live thrivingly. It comes in as clear, connected, full of passion, full of purpose, and living unconstrained by life, by fear, by anything that is stepping in the way of your passion and purpose. So it is living in abundance of love, joy, feeling, listening, vulnerability, being able to breathe in that bubble that we talked about in the beginning, being able to really just experience life in the fullest, I think.
Amazing. I love that answer. Any
Mhm.
last words to share here, Hannah?
I don't think so. I thank you, because this was so fun.
You're
I love
welcome.
conversation. I love being able to pour into people in this community. So I'm really appreciative for this opportunity.
I'm happy to hold the space here for that. And do you mind sharing your how people can get in contact with you and what your exact offerings are?
Yeah. So easiest way to find me is probably through Instagram. It is Hannah Donahoe with two E's. Or yeah, Hannah Donahoe with two E's. And then I offer an abundance of things. We're currently serving Kambo. I will be some fun things coming in this soon about chiropractic. I'm actually opening an office in Dallas in the coming year. Hopefully Q1 if everything goes well. We're really excited about that. But currently serving Kambo, currently doing breathworks. I believe our next one is in October. So the date and the time will actually be linked and posted through Instagram and Facebook, but Instagram probably for most people. And then you and I are doing an offering on October 28th. It's going to be a cacao ceremony with you if you want to share a little bit about that. And then I also do energy attunements at my house in a private setting. It is about 45 minutes of an energy attunement and really unraveling the patterns that we talked about today.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing those.
Mhm.
And yeah, me and Hannah will be hosting a cacao ceremony on October 28th at her beautiful home. And we definitely welcome you to come out. Just contact either Hannah through Instagram
Mhm.
or contact her if you have her number, and then me as well. Let us know, because there is limited availability, but we really look forward to gathering a group of spiritual beings in a space in Dallas and connecting over this beautiful plant medicine from the jungles of Guatemala.
So excited.
So yes, if you're around the Dallas-Fort Worth area and you're listening to this and you'd like to come, definitely reach out to us. We would love to see if you could come.
It's going to be good.
Thanks so much, Hannah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.